One of the titles on his record is just called Evil. One is called Lucifer, and one is called Antichrist.
They try to come and deal with you on a friendship level, and it's very calculated. It's done intended to disarm you, to make you get comfortable with these people and allow their suggestions in and try to make you forget that this is business.
For years now, the music industry has been pushing a subliminal message, influencing fans and followers to adapt specific signs and symbols. This messaging is peddled out by giant music machines in the name of art and free thinking, but others call it the satanic panic. Regardless, there's a deeper discourse here about selling your soul for fame and fortune. And now, some artists are finally exposing the truth of the music industry, even artists who were previously blinded by the industry. But before we can expose the industry, we need to see how deep its roots are, and how strongly they've embedded this message into our psyche. Starting with one of the biggest artists in the world, Eminem, and his new album, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. It started with a fake obituary for Slim Shady, the alter ego or evil twin of Eminem, published in the May 13th issue of the Detroit Free Press. In the photo, Eminem is dressed in overalls and a hockey mask as his Slim Shady character. And as country artist John Rich mentioned, the album track list boldly includes Antichrist, Lucifer, and Evil, along with showing Eminem in a body bag. And the message is not subtle. In the song Lucifer, he calls himself a lunatic and says that his mother spawned Lucifer. He goes on to talk about committing murder and eating breakfast next to the corpse of a woman, which is only shocking to people not familiar with Eminem's previous works. Going through the rest of the songs on his album, you see him call himself, or rather Slim Shady, evil, rotten, and the Antichrist. And although he uses these as metaphors for his struggles with fame and his past experiences, Eminem has talked more explicitly about these topics before, which is why his lyrics on the latest album are not shocking to longtime fans. They've been nurtured into it, and now they expect their idol to rap about devils and darkness because they've been hearing this from a young age.
And they have spent decades programming us from a young age to think those things are fine and normal, and they get rewarded for that. People that really serve the Father of lies, they get rewarded by him when they proclaim his word and do what he tells them to do.
In 2009, Eminem had a song called My Darling in the Relapse album, where he specifically talks about selling his soul to the devil. The same goes for songs like Rock Bottom and Lucky You, and his music videos also include dark and provocative scenes. Why has it become so normal to showcase disturbing, anti-Christian sentiments in mainstream media? Throughout history, rock and roll and its offshoot, heavy metal, have been accused of promoting demonic symbolism. This began with blues guitarist Robert Johnson, who, in 1937, was rumored to have sold his soul to the devil for musical talent. And as rock music evolved, bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones incorporated more and more occult imagery. But it was with heavy metal that satanic and occult themes became central. Black Sabbath, for example, released their debut album in 1970 with a dark, ominous cover and tracks filled with eerie sounds. Two of the most common symbols used by the band were the Christian cross and the peace sign. But their black mass ritual referencing name and their role in creating a genre later associated with Satanism made them accidental Satan supporters. During the 70s and 80s, despite the public outcry against bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, and Motley Crue for contributing to the satanic panic, many of these groups didn't actually believe in what they were singing about. Luciferian imagery was just edgy and trendy. Bloodied goblets of hollowed skulls and severed goat heads were controversial, but they sold because the devil was just that profitable as a theme. And by the late 80s, merely pretending to worship Beelzebub was tame. Underground metal was getting darker and heavier. Bands like Morbid Angel, Venom, Celtic Frost, and Deicide focused on Sumerian deities, mythical sorcery, and ancient incantations. But Norway's first wave of black metal artists actually took Satanism way more seriously. Mayhem, formed in 1984, had a more aggressive and dangerous approach to the subject. members would cut themselves on stage and impale animal heads on stakes. And with MTV growing in popularity around the 80s, we got even more heavy metal videos featuring outlandish themes for anybody, including children, to see. But when confronted, these artists always argued that their work was a form of artistic expression, a surreal or alternative way to discuss their struggles or talk about their dark pasts, that it was not endorsing or supporting evil. Maybe it was true then, but is it still true now? Or is there a higher cost now to fame and fortune?
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
That's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil. Sold my soul to the devil.
Their words might be meant literally or metaphorically, but the point is they are making these statements, which seem to align with a certain ideology. Even artists who claim to be atheists and not believe in a god or a devil use certain symbols in their art because they believe it signifies freedom.
Because the devil for me represents rock and roll, film, freedom, humor, essentially my life, my background. Because it's so colored with so many blasphemous expressions. But I think that's one of the most common misconceptions, or that makes it so hard for people to fathom that there's obviously the biblical devil, and then you have the pop cultural devil. The pop cultural devil being very much a representative of freedom and intellectualism and liberation.
Subtly, subliminally, this message has been infiltrating the music industry for decades.
When did it become clear to you that this was a theology, that these people were working knowingly or not on behalf of evil, actual evil? When did that dawn on you?
Well, they got so arrogant with it, it seems like in maybe the last less than 10 years. I don't know what happened on their side, but I guess they got the green light to go all the way in. And that's when you started seeing, for instance, Grammy Award performances where people are literally coming out wearing satanic symbols. They are carrying out, I guess they were mock seances, but it looked pretty real to me.
There's no denying that artists are getting bolder and bolder with a very specific message. And if this truly is just artistic expression, why is every artist resorting to the same symbols? Wouldn't artistry require you to come up with different and unique ways to talk about pain and suffering? Instead, the audience is bombarded with just one kind of message. Beyoncé, for example, is known to incorporate certain hand gestures and symbols in her performances and music videos. One of the most popular symbols is the triangle hand gesture, often associated with the Illuminati. Miley Cyrus, especially in the early 2010s, embraced an edgy persona that included a variety of provocative imagery, like the use of certain costumes, gestures, and props in her performances. Artists like Lady Gaga and Rihanna have also used similar provocative symbols in their music videos and stage sets. And in May 2024, Madonna was accused of showcasing incredibly disturbing acts on stage without warning the audience. We're also getting similar messages in milder ways. For example, in Billie Eilish's song, All the Good Girls Go to Hell, she sings about wanting the devil on her team, implying that dark forces are more powerful and more appealing. And yes, these lyrics could just be metaphorical, but that is irrelevant, because these lyrics still contribute to a certain belief that goodness and God are not as powerful or influential as negative forces. So, is the industry just lacking new and fresh ways to talk about darker themes? Or are they stuck on one particular symbol for a reason?
Why are they pushing Satan worship on television?
Because they're doing the work of their father, just like I am.
Wow. And there's kind of no denying. I mean, they're not getting richer by pushing satanic symbols.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the industry, the way those movie industries, music industries, all of that, now not everybody in those industries obviously is, some kind of a Satan worshiper or something, but there's a lot of that in there. They get rewarded for that. People that really serve the father of lies, they get rewarded by him when they proclaim his word and do what he tells them to do.
And this negative messaging has better press. Stars like Beyonce, Eminem, Doja Cat, Sam Smith, and others have huge record labels backing up their provocative lyrics and videos, giving them money and expansive reach to ensure their songs stay on top of the charts. All of this has led to the misconception that negative forces are more powerful.
Massive record labels, massive radio play, massive budgets to push and promote and manipulate media and get his song out there. These guys have all these massive budgets, the entertainment value, the ability to produce those things at such a high level, it's impossible to look away from it. It's like boom, pow, huge, special effects, all this stuff, and everybody's just mesmerized, and it's going right into them.
Biblically speaking, of course, dark forces are not more powerful than the ultimate good. In Scripture, even when Satan wanted to test Job, he had to ask God for permission first. This highlights that evil is not on par with the ultimate good. It's not even close. But the second big issue here is that the idea of Satanism is essentially about extreme selfishness. It says you can be your own God, which, according to the Bible, is simply not true. The Bible says we are made in God's image and are accountable to Him. Aleister Crowley, a well-known occultist, famously said, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," meaning, do whatever makes you happy and follow your own truth. In contrast, the Bible says to fear God and keep His commandments. Neither you nor the devil is God, but each person is quickly becoming the center of their own universe instead of embracing humility and groundedness. This idea is not new. It goes back to Genesis 3, where Satan, in the form of a serpent, lied to Eve about what would happen if she ate the forbidden fruit. He said, "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." This was a direct lie. Their eyes were opened in a way, but not like God. They were broken by sin. And similar lies are told to artists today, but instead of knowledge, they're promised unlimited wealth and influence. And with that influence, artists can continue to promote everything wrong, taboo, or perverse as edgy or trendy. It's a self-feeding machine. The more success these artists get, the more people get encouraged to perform provocative acts to achieve that success. And it goes on. The machine pretends to be your friend and your family, luring you over to the dark side. And now, some artists are exposing it.
Where these people come and deal with you, right?
He said these
They
people.
try to come and deal with you on a friendship level, and it's very calculated. It's done intended to disarm you, to make you get comfortable with these people and allow their suggestions in and try to make you forget that this is business.
How they kind of blur the lines between business and friendship and family. Even we're family, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be like, we not family.
Yeah.
The minute I can't provide with your services, I ain't your brother no more, you know what I'm saying?
Rappers Ransom and Paul Kane sat down to talk about things less talked about concerning the business of music. How people's friendly demeanor is really a facade to further business interests, and how, if you want to protect yourself, strict boundaries are necessary. The podcast also touched on whether success in the industry is possible without playing these games, and Ransom affirmed that it is possible, but not at all easy. He said that while some artists might play along to get ahead, it's also possible to achieve success without compromising personal principles. Of course, that's the longer road, and not the most exciting for artists who have gone big. Fortunately, though, we are waking up. Once upon a time, antics of off-the-rails pop stars were seen as cool or aspirational. But today, even younger millennials and Gen Z are seeing the perverted nature of mainstream artists.
Like, she's dressing up like the devil at every event that she attends. She's using demons in all of her album promotion, and it's just getting very out of hand.
Younger people also want less sexualized content in media and are gravitating towards more wholesome songs and films, thanks in part to other creators making an effort to produce that content. Creators like John Rich, who recently released a song called Revelation, which talks about John's words in the book of Revelation. More importantly, he talks about how he had to make a video that would appeal to an audience that is used to high-budget, overproduced music videos.
And so Revelation is the other side of that. That's why I went to such extremes with this video, because I wanted it to compete visually with what people are used to seeing. I didn't want it to be like some one-dimensional looking thing. I wanted it to be up to the level to what people are used to seeing. If we're going to combat, if we're going to present both sides, play at a high level. Bring it at a high level. And that's why we went so far with it.
And John Rich doesn't have the same machines backing him up as Lil Nas X or Eminem. What John has is a P.O. box called Rich Records LLC. He's the president, founder, and sole employee of this label. He doesn't have anyone pushing his songs. It's all about people who hear it, and, if they like it, share it with others. Promoting a song without the help of this music machine requires more outreach and effort on his part. But for him, that's a better way to go about it than, essentially, selling his soul to get his music out there. And it makes sense, because his message doesn't align with the industry's main agenda. And if it doesn't align, it's gone, as explained by Lil Nas X himself. But the kicker is, even redemption becomes a marketing ploy. In January of 2024, Lil Nas X started posting a series of TikToks about exposing the music industry, which was apparently forcing him to spread specific messages through his music. He used religious imagery, including posing himself as Jesus Christ. In all of these messages, placing himself as the person who would bring down the industry. His comments were flooded with supportive messages, wishing him well and calling him back to the side of God. And after the controversy with his earlier music videos, this would be a welcome change. After garnering tons of online support for his new music, promising a complete rebrand, when the J. Christ music video finally dropped, it was hardly what people expected. It wasn't gospel. It wasn't respectful. And it didn't expose anything about the industry. But it did tell us things like redemption and forgiveness are jokes to the music machine. And if we're waiting for a change, we'll be waiting forever. Possibly the best thing we can do is be more mindful of the music we consume and understand the subliminal messages being peddled to us by them. Because even if the younger generation is ready to move on to music with better values, it will always be harder to discover that art compared to what the mainstream media will put right in front of us.
The 808 exists in the lowest chakra of your body. The majority of content that's related to the 808 is killer or sexual content. The original 808s was even off pitch. So that meant it's an actual sound in the track that you don't realize is there that is fucking up your entire frequency. And now, today, every time I hear a car come out, it's 808. But if you think about African music and hip hop and what we was breakdancing to, it was light.
The percussion.
It was upbeat. It was the drums.
Quite disturbing, right? Let's listen to Dr. Wesley Muhammad having the same opinion.
Them 808 produce low frequency sound. Its signature is low frequency sound, and that 808 drum beat, the low frequency drum beat. And remember, how do shamans create altered state of consciousness? In indigenous cultures, it's the drum beat. The drum is the tool to drive one into altered states of consciousness. So the 808 machine, the signature of hip hop, the drum beat, that most of the 808 beats are in low frequency. Trap music is 808, it resurrected 808 beats. Because now the words are the command message.
Right.
The hit
not in command.
The 808 refers to a type of drum machine that has been widely used in hip-hop and electronic music, known for its deep, resonant bass sound. These low-frequency sounds, often referred to as sub-bass or bass drops, contribute to the distinct and powerful nature of trap music. The drum beats serve as an auditory tool, driving listeners into an altered state of consciousness through rhythmic resonance and low-frequency vibrations. The manipulation of frequencies, especially in the low range, can have various effects on the listener, both psychological and physiological. Trap music resurrects the 808 beat, using them as a commanding sound foundation, where the lyrics serve as a powerful message directing the listener's experience.
The brain chemical serotonin is necessary for mental health for men and women. One reason women suffer from depression in numbers that men are. One of the reasons is the disparity in brain serotonin.
Wesley explains that testosterone and serotonin are like power sources for men. Both men and women need serotonin for better mental health, but if women don't have enough serotonin, it can lead to depression, so serotonin is like the ticket to good mental health. He further explains that if you're listening to a song at 230 Hz in your right ear and 220 Hz in your left ear, your brain syncs up to a phantom 10 Hz, which triggers serotonin.
230 Hertz is beamed into my right headphone, 220 is beamed into my left. My brain was synchronized to a phantom 10 Hertz. And 10 Hertz is precisely the frequency that stimulates the production of serotonin.
10 Hz is precisely the frequency that stimulates the production of serotonin. For instance, think of your brain like a music player. When you're relaxed, you're closing your eyes, it's playing this chill tune at 10 beats per second. But when you're asleep, it slows down, and when you're focused or doing something active, it speeds up. This switch between rhythms is controlled by a brain area called the reticular activating system. Wesley says that 10 Hz is like a serotonin booster, making us feel good. But the devil knows the biochemistry game too. He triggers the stress chemical noradrenaline, which messes with the good vibes. It's like a tug of war between feeling good and feeling stressed.
4 Hertz is the specific fear frequency because 4 Hertz stimulates serotonin's opposite, noradrenaline.
Noradrenaline, a neurotransmitter originating in the brain stem, functions as a messenger between neurons. Unlike neurotransmitters, hormones traverse the bloodstream, persisting in their communication throughout the body as they are not subject to reabsorption. This dual functionality underscores its significance in both neural and systemic communication pathways. The neurotransmitter collaborates with adrenaline to accelerate heart rate in response to perceived threat, concurrently enhancing the volume of blood ejected from the heart. Moreover, it induces vasoconstriction, leading to an elevation in blood pressure. In circumstances where one's life is endangered, these physiological responses collectively furnish the individual with augmented strength to confront and overcome imminent dangers. It also plays a pivotal role in the breakdown of fat and elevation of blood sugar levels, providing an additional surge of energy essential for mobilization. This mechanism is particularly crucial during confrontations with imminent threats, facilitating the fight or flight response. Notably, the influence of noradrenaline persists to a lesser degree during non-threatening circumstances. So in brain chemistry, serotonin takes the lead, influencing our passions. An optimal level of serotonin allows us to master our impulses rather than give in to them. It serves as the controller of our appetites or passions. On the other hand, noradrenaline operates as an accelerator. Elevated noradrenaline levels act as a force that intensifies the batteries of our various impulses and passions. Consequently, a scenario characterized by low serotonin and heightened noradrenaline results in increased impulsivity, rendering us vulnerable and prompting us to act on our instincts without restraint.
And so our noradrenaline is stimulated and it cuts off our serotonin. They can make sure they can stimulate in us our serotonin by producing in us phantom 10 Hertz frequencies, but our reality is proof that they have decided to stimulate in us or produce in us a phantom 4 Hertz frequency.
Our circumstances demonstrate that external influences like music frequencies have been chosen to shape and stimulate us. He gives examples explaining every hood, spanning from one end of America to the other, is described as an ecology of fear. In contrast, urban areas, unlike the serene and healthy ecologies found in the suburbs, are portrayed as environments laden with fear and stress. He contends that this is not a random occurrence, but a deliberate design. In 2012, researchers at Purdue University developed a compact pressure sensor designed for implantation to monitor pressure in areas such as the bladder or blood vessels affected by aneurysms. The challenge with this device was determining how to power such a small implant without a battery. Purdue's biomedical engineering professor Babak Zieh addressed this by creating a 2 cm long piezoelectric cantilever beam using lead zirconate titanate. Zieh and fellow researchers tested the device by placing it in a water-filled balloon and exposing it to various music genres including rap, blues, jazz, and rock. Hip-hop yielded the best results, with Zieh noting its rich low-frequency sound, especially the bass. Vibrating in response to acoustic waves within the 200 and 500 Hz range, the cantilever generates electricity stored in a capacitor within the sensor. Instead of using a plain tone, the researchers opted for music. They tried various music genres to power that medical device. It was only hip-hop with its bass line proving most effective due to its rich low acoustic frequency sounds. The musical acoustic energy can traverse body tissue, inducing vibrations in the cantilever. When the frequency falls beyond the optimal range, the cantilever ceases to vibrate, triggering an automatic transfer of electrical charge to the sensor. This prompts the sensor to conduct a pressure reading and broadcast data through radio signals. As the frequency dynamically changes with the rhythm of the musical composition, the sensor can cyclically alternate between storing charge and transmitting data. Professor Zieh suggested that a brief monitoring period, lasting a couple of minutes every hour, is sufficient for tracking either blood pressure or bladder pressure. Functioning as a micro-electromechanical system, the device was developed at the Burke Nanotechnology Center within the university's Discovery Park. Constructed from the piezoelectric ceramic material lead zirconate titanate, the 2 cm long cantilever beam generates electricity when compressed. While tones within a specific frequency range can substitute for music, Professor Zieh notes that using plain tones can be irritating, making the choice of music more aesthetically pleasing and novel. Researchers explored the impact of 4 music genres: rap, blues, jazz, and rock, finding that rap, with its substantial low-frequency sound, especially in the bass, produced the most favorable results. The sensor's capabilities extend to monitoring pressure in the urinary bladder and the blood vessels, aneurysm-damaged sac. This technology holds potential applications in treating incontinence in paralyzed individuals by assessing bladder pressure and triggering spinal cord stimulation to close the sphincter, controlling urine flow. Furthermore, it could serve immediate diagnostic purposes, offering advantages over current methods involving catheter-equipped probes that require several hours of hospital stay. This innovative technology surpasses conventional implantable devices which either rely on batteries needing periodic replacement or operate on inductance. This is an example of the divine power of hip-hop music. This innovative approach allows intermittent measurements lasting a few minutes every hour to monitor bladder or blood pressure. Wesley says that hip-hop by nature is divine, but when the devil distorts what is divinely created and turns it into a weapon for his own agenda, hip-hop becomes a crucial example. In a research project at the University of California, Los Angeles, Daniel Blumstein conducted a study where participants were asked to evaluate the intensity and emotional tone of various 10-second music pieces. The researchers aimed to explore how music with distortion could impact emotions, drawing a parallel to the distress calls of animals. Using undergraduates as participants, the study tested 10 musical conditions, including rock music, heavy metal, crusty pump, and harsh dissonant music. They found that when the music included distortion, participants perceived it as more thrilling and often associated it with negative emotions. Listeners in the control condition heard music without noise or abrupt transitions in frequency or pitch that was similar to elevator music. Those in the experimental condition listened to music that began in an easy listening manner but then suddenly broke into distortion. Further research employed the use of video as a distraction. Researchers played minimally evocative video clips paired with music they had proven to cause negative emotions. The video eliminated how exciting the distorted sounding music seemed, but it didn't trump the emotional content of the music. Byron said, "This study helps explain why the distortion of rock and roll gets people excited. It brings out the animal in us." Researchers found that dissonant music, like the soundtrack in scary movies, often evokes strong negative emotions like fear or sadness, not happy ones. Such music taps into our primal instincts, making us feel excited or charged with negative feelings. People listening to the distorted music felt more excited and emotionally charged, showcasing the impact of certain sounds on our emotions. Loud and sudden changes in music, like the screeching sounds, grab our attention because they trigger emotional responses similar to how animals alert each other to danger. This happens because these sounds, with their discordant effect, mirror the distress calls animals use in nature. They found that the sound of rock music was similar to the sound of animals dying. The sound of animals in distress characterizes rock music that arouses people and gets them weaponized against other people. Music operates as a frequency programming capable of influencing different mental states. By manipulating frequencies, music can make people go into meditative states or facilitate sleep. The brain, functioning and communicating with cellular structures through electricity, operates within specific frequency bands. Broadcasting frequencies carrying information and perceptions within the brain's decoding range allow external influence on people's perceptions. This external influence occurs by broadcasting frequencies that interact with the brain's decoding mechanisms, shaping individuals' experiences and perceptions. The adoption of A440 in music is associated with the Roman Catholic Church, which historically suppressed certain frequencies.
The A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart-mind to the divine human community.
Notably, the investigation into the lost frequencies was triggered by the recovery of 152 Gregorian chants, including the spiritually uplifting hymn to Saint John the Baptist. This particular hymn, played in 6 tones, became the focus of the search for these frequencies of vibration. The 6 tones represent frequencies that have been manipulated with A440 Hz now serving as the standard tuning. Choosing a tuning like A439 brings one closer to one of the Creator's tones, while A421 brings proximity to one of the Creator's original tones. This precise manipulation is believed to impact the brain, particularly the right brain responsible for the heart-mind connection to the divine human community, aiming to limit its functioning. Imagine being in a room filled with aggression and conflict, and you can almost feel the tension. This experience is similar to the way frequencies of hate and conflict can alter the electromagnetic field of space. Just like tuning your car radio to a station, when the music is enjoyable and you are grooving, the farther you get from the broadcasting tower, the more staticky it becomes. You may endure it for a while, but eventually it becomes annoying and even sickening. This analogy is applied to life, where people may not realize they've been exposed to negative frequencies their whole lives, affecting their emotions and perceptions. By embedding messages just below the threshold of perception, these frequencies can go directly into the subconscious, playing across communities without anyone consciously realizing it. The impact is gradual, building rage and anger, often triggered by events like police actions, leading to mass unrest and actions people wouldn't normally take. In a broader perspective, while the Universal Orchestra sings love songs and uplifting frequencies, humanity is described as the only species out of tune, susceptible to manipulations. The analogy extends to the military, where technology exists to deploy frequencies that break the enemy's spirit, compelling them to surrender. This highlights the profound influence and potential manipulation associated with the power of frequencies. In contrast to conventional frequencies, the solfeggio frequency, especially 528 Hz, has gained attention for its perceived healing properties. The frequency you're listening to can influence how UV light is absorbed into your DNA, and 528 Hz is the only one proven to beneficially alter this process. The frequency of 528 Hz plays a role in enhancing these positive effects and contributing to an improved sense of well-being. Another study explored the impact of 528 Hz music on individuals, comparing it to the commonly used 440 Hz. After exposure to 528 Hz music, participants experienced a substantial increase in oxytocin levels. While 440 Hz music also led to an oxytocin increase, it was less pronounced compared to the effects of 528 Hz. The stress hormone showed a noticeable decrease 30 minutes after participants listened to 528 Hz music. In contrast, 440 Hz music resulted in only a minor reduction in cortisol levels after the same duration. Using salivary biomarkers, electrocardiogram data, and mood state questionnaires, the study revealed that just 5 minutes of exposure to 528 Hz music significantly reduced stress levels. This stress reduction effect was not observed with 440 Hz music. These findings suggest that music tuned to the solfeggio frequency of 528 Hz has unique physiological effects, promoting a reduction in stress and influencing hormonal responses. The solfeggio frequency of 528 Hz specifically activates the solar plexus chakra. This frequency is linked to enhancing personal power, boosting confidence, aiding decision-making, and promoting manifestation. Music tuned to 528 Hz facilitates a reconnection with our authentic selves. It supports making decisions from a position of inner strength and mental clarity, fostering a harmonious balance within the solar plexus chakra. Solfeggio frequencies exhibit more positive effects on the body compared to other sounds or tones, and this is attributed to the Schumann resonance. In conclusion, the debate between 440 Hz and 528 Hz frequencies involves not just musical tuning but also claims of healing properties. While 440 Hz has been the standard for years, many argue that 528 Hz associated with healing effects is more beneficial.